this warrior hero, and he leaves his island to visit his son, who lives in the modern American suburbs. Because and he lives with his divorced wife, who's a white American woman. So everything else is live action except for him, who's this 80s style barbarian Maitor He-Man type hero, long hair, sword, like that bushy underwear type thing.
So that's why you like it.
Yep, exactly. I like it. No, but it's really fun.
Really? Where do you watch it?
Online now.
I will bet that Alex heard nothing of what you just said. He's not even paying attention.
No, I was wondering if you guys seen it, because it's such a like geeky show.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty unique. For one, it's like the lead character is a cartoon, so that in itself is really pretty unique.
I mean, I noticed that you've had a lot of time to watch shows lately. Like you're watching a lot
No,
of
it's
anime.
just that I have time at around 9:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30. My wife goes to sleep already, and I got nothing to do, so I just either read or watch stuff.
Must be nice, like being a CEO of a gym.
Shut up.
You guys work hard over there. I'm sitting here watching my anime.
No. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I guess. Welcome back, everybody, to the #1 comics review podcast in the Philippines. This is Tres Comiceros, first episode of 2017. I will be your host for this evening. My name is John. As we are talking right now, you can hear in the background the fading sound of Do the Hustle, which is our opening music for this episode.
Oh my gosh.
It is popular around the 70s, one of my father's favorite songs, and coincidentally, my father's best friend from that time, EJ, is with us this evening, one of our hosts. What's up, man?
That's one hell of an intro. I didn't even see it coming.
What's up, buddy?
Apparently, I'm your dad's best friend. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good. What's up, everyone? Hello.
And Alex also is with us tonight.
What's up?
What's up,
Hustling.
buddy? How was work?
Everybody's hustling.
It's good.
Yeah. How's
But I have lesser time compared to EJ.
Oh, well, you're not the CEO of a gym.
Oh god.
Yeah.
I am not the CEO of anything.
You're just the CEO of your friend gym.
I am the CEO of the floor that I'm sitting on right now.
Chair executive officer.
Floor manager.
For those of you guys who don't know, Tres Comiceros is a comics discussion show. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Podcast Republic, and you can join us in discussions on Facebook and Reddit. Proudly, we are also the member of the Comics Podcast Network. And let's jump into it. We're supposed to have Butch with us right now, but I think he got occupied. I know for a fact that it's his wedding anniversary or some shit.
Isn't he off stargazing? That's what he said literally. I'm gonna be stargazing. with
Yeah,
my-
but what he meant was that he's gonna look into his wife's eyes.
Oh.
Stargazing.
Jotting down notes.
Using that for the future. This is we're gonna cover a bit of news. Just some brief tidbits here. A little bit of bad news, or negative news at least. Batman, or production on The Batman, Ben Affleck's solo movie, has reportedly been pushed back a couple of months because reports indicate that Justice League is a quote-unquote mess.
Oh,
What is new?
as expected.
Yeah? Did you
What is new?
were you expecting this?
I wasn't expecting anything great. You know, I mean, it's like I saw that still that came out recently, the high res still, and I'm like, okay, I mean, they all look badass. Still not a fan of the Flash's costume, but you know, you still look badass. That's what you're going for. Cyborg, same. Not the best, what do you call this, but it works.
Mhm.
But if it's all gonna come together, nah. I have no confidence at all. This is still a Zack Snyder movie.
Uh-huh.
Batman versus Superman was the worst, one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Whoa.
No,
Harsh.
this is not gonna be any good.
Now I'm just gonna ask a few questions here just to get your guys' opinions. No confidence at all, even if Jeff Johns is more involved this time around.
You still have the
Well,
same. You
wasn't
still
he
have the
involved
same. Yeah, wasn't
in?
he? He was already involved before.
Yeah.
No, not as much in BVS. BVS was almost solely Zack Snyder's vision, and then supposedly they're course correcting. That's the term they used with Jeff Johns for Justice League.
He, yeah, but it might be a mess like Suicide Squad, where they see it. Oh, okay, now we gotta course correct it. It can't be like too serious, or it can't be all like this. We
Mhm.
gotta infuse it with some humor, or we gotta infuse it with. I don't know. I mean, it's like if it's a mess right now, seems like a mixed bag to
Still a
me.
mess.
They don't the DC's movie division doesn't seem to have it together. So
Sure.
we don't know how much of Jeff John's involvement there is here, but and we don't know at what part of the movie he suddenly came in to be involved. Was it from the very beginning? And at the same time, he's still not the cinematographer. He's still not the guy with the eye on the camera and on the screens. He's not the one figuring out how to make things look, how to make the actors do what they're doing. That's still the job of the director. He's still the at the helm of the ship, and that's still Snyder. So
Yeah.
sorry.
Lex, any thoughts?
I'm with EJ.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I thank you.
for the past few. Yeah. For the past few movies, we were expecting that DC's gonna come up with a good movie, but so far it's just disappointments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even Suicide Squad that I enjoyed was also a
Yeah.
poor movie. I enjoyed it, yes, but that wasn't a quality film. I recognized that it was a mess, despite the fact that there were some decent and really amusing performances from a bunch of actors in that movie. I mean, there are some interesting things that happened, but Suicide Squad was the best has been the best movie so far out of what DC's been coming up with since Man of Steel, and that's not saying a lot. That's not like big vote of confidence
Hmm.
for what they got here.
Yeah.
It's not it's not the argument that you guys don't like something that's different. No, man, I can appreciate a different movie.
Mm-hmm.
I can watch a drama. I can watch a movie like Spotlight or a series like The Crown. Totally different
Oh, you're
things.
watching The Crown.
Totally enjoyable. Totally, I mean, in different ways, all quality. It's like it's not because it's different that I don't like it. It's because it's shit that I don't like it, and I still don't have confidence until I see it. I'm still probably gonna see it, and
Sure.
I'm not saying that this is a definite thing that is gonna be a piece of crap, but I'm leaning towards that. Like I'm 90% sure that's what's gonna happen.
Well, moving on to some stuff that I am kind of excited about. We have supposedly the synopsis or the premise for the Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale game.
Oh
So I'm
shit!
gonna
That
stick
sounds
it.
awesome.
I'm gonna stick it here on the chat for EJ to
Okay.
read aloud with his epic voice.
Well, what kind of voice? What kind of voice do you want me to read it
Up
in?
to you, man. Completely up to you. I am Groot.
Let me put on my reading glasses.
Have you guys finished any Telltale game?
Yes. The
I
Fable
played
Telltale
Walking Dead. I played Fable. I didn't finish them though. I have to like shell out some cash. I
Yeah, I
totally
was
forgot
asking if
about
you
it.
finished it.
I want to finish it. I really want to finish it. Those were really good. What
Fables
I
was
played
great.
was really good. So okay, let's read the premise here. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. The Telltale series delivers a brand new story of the universe's unlikeliest heroes, the ragtag band of outlaws who go by the names, you know these guys: Star-Lord, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, and Groot. Pew 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 pew! In the wake of an epic battle, the Guardians discover an artifact of unspeakable power. MacGuffin! Each of the Guardians is a reason to desire this relic, as does a ruthless enemy who is the last of her kind. Her kind? Oh, who's this? And who will stop at nothing to tear it from their hands. Interesting. From Earth to the Milano. Oh, okay, so they're still calling it the Milano. To nowhere and beyond. And set to the beat of awesome music. Okay, they're really following that whole awesome music theme. This 5-part episodic series puts you in the rocket-powered boots of Star-Lord in an original Guardians adventure, told in the unique and award-winning Telltale style. Okay, where your decisions and actions will drive the path of the story you experience. I'm guessing that none of them are going to die in this one. As what Telltale does in some of their games. Make a bad choice, somebody goes under the ground. But yeah, this sounds a lot of fun. This sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun. Ruthless enemy who is the last of her kind. So this is gonna be a totally new enemy?
That's what I'm wondering too.
Death.
Could it be Nebula? It can't be Death if it's the last of her kind. Is it Nebula?
Yeah, because there was no other one of her kind to begin with. It's just Death. Angela?
Good.
No,
point,
right?
actually.
It can't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
be.
the last on this side of the, what do you call this? But there are others.
Yeah,
there
she's
are
the
other
only one of
sides.
her kind. She jumped from Image.
As far as we know. As far as we know.
Yeah, but she's Asgardian, right? She doesn't have like the wings
Sure.
and the.
Oh, that's right.
all
She
this.
is.
She's
Yeah.
Asgardian. So okay, so it's not her. So there's probably that's what's got me intrigued here, is because I don't know who,
Maybe a new one.
I don't know who the villain is. Yeah, so
Will
they
you guys be
probably
playing this?
created,
I'll try it out.
Yeah, this sounds like a cool game. I think I'm gonna start picking up a bunch of the Telltale games, but I'll finish playing with Assassin's Creed Syndicate first.
A friend of mine is playing the Batman Telltale game and said he's disappointed by it because in every chapter, and there's like 5 chapters, in every chapter there's a good chunk where you're just sad about your dead parents. Like seriously. I guess that's part of Batman's ethos, but like you can't make everything about that. That's
Yeah.
just
Sure.
it's a depressing
Well, I
game.
guess I don't. They might not. They might have gotten that one just a little too. May not have been the best depiction of Batman, but history tells us that Telltale weaves
history.
a pretty decent tale. A lot of. I have a friend that played the Borderlands one, and he said I was really good. The Back to the Future one wasn't the best of them, but that was also
One
quite
of the
good.
earliest ones.
Yep.
The earlier ones.
And Walking Dead, that's like, even people I know that are not gamers played that game.
Wow.
So,
You know
I
what?
mean, high expectation. Telltale, I think, does good work. So, let's see.
Yeah. The Fable stuff is kind of the best stuff that they can adapt into Telltale,
nice.
but I feel like the Guardians universe is also rich enough for that. It's gonna be interesting if they put some movie Easter eggs or some Easter eggs from the game and make it into the movies. That'll be fun to see. And
Yep, agreed.
I'm also curious as to when it's set. If it's after the first movie or before. It can't be before the first movie, right? Because they weren't together yet. The group wasn't together yet.
Yep. It has
Maybe
to
in
be.
between.
It has to be after. It doesn't say Baby Groot though, so.
That's true.
And it doesn't. Maybe it's like just a side story, like how they do anime movies. It's like, where does this take place? It
You
just
bring up a good
happens at some
point. They don't say Baby Groot. It's interesting. Because
Yep.
if he's Big Groot here, this can't be set after the film.
What?
Oops, sorry.
What the fuck?
I'm muting my phone.
What is that?
Dude.
They do that when an ambulance passes by.
Oh, really? Are
Canada.
those your dogs?
Yeah.
How many
Creepy.
dogs do you have?
11.
4.
Jesus
Dude,
Christ.
that kind of freaked me out, man.
No,
Suddenly I
they just
just
do that
hear
when
consecutive
when
howling, you know.
when they
I mean,
hear
I
when
am
they hear
not
an
used to
ambulance,
that
they just howl.
sound.
Yeah. But anyway,
Okay,
I'm
okay.
saying it's gonna be interesting to see if this is Baby Groot or Adult Groot. We'll probably get one more trailer before the game comes out, but we'll see. Uh, well, the Groot iteration we get will inform us whether this happens before
Yep.
or after the first film, I guess. All right, let's move on to
Okay.
some comics talk. The three
Yep.
of us have a pretty prominent book to discuss together in tandem. But before that, I want to set the Wayback Machine to talk about a cross company event from the 90s that just
Okay.
a little
Yeah.
bit of nostalgia for you guys.
Okay.
uh,
Okay.
I'm talking about DC versus Marvel. You guys remember this?
Yep.
I
I read
wasn't born yet.
it. I remember it because I read it. But
Hmm.
what was cool was that I did not know that it was out. Because growing up in Iloilo, we don't. At one point, we lost our sole comic shop, and I just didn't have any connection to comics news or whatever. I didn't know what was out there.
Hmm.
So I get to Manila and I go to Phil Bars, and then I see the whole thing,
Hmm.
Marvel versus DC,
Or DC
and
versus Marvel.
DC versus Marvel. I can't remember exactly which is first anymore. Um, and I'm like, holy shit, I gotta have this. You know,
Hmm.
you're a kid and you're like totally blown. You never heard that there was plans for this thing. You just see that it's out there
Hmm.
already. That this thing's out.
Right.
So I get it. I think at the time I thought the art was pretty good.
I still think so.
Uh, yeah, it's cool. That's
Hmm.
cool. I totally can't remember who the art. I mean, if you tell me, it would, because the art in my head is very recognizable. I just don't know who drew this thing.
Okay, I'll set it up. The writers were Ron Mars and Peter David. No
Yeah.
slouches.
Okay. Okay.
And the pencilers were Dan Jurgens, Reed Jurgens,
Yeah.
and
There you go.
Claudio
Yes.
Castellini.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I recognize the what do you call it? That art was pretty good.
Yeah.
So who wants to start off?
Well, Alex is the one who had never read it, and he's the one who has most
Yeah.
recently read it. But
Okay.
before we get into your thoughts on it, Lex, I'll just set it up. DC versus
Sure.
Marvel was a four-part event in 1996, guys, and it involved the two big companies, Marvel and DC, but they were embodied as supposedly two celestial brothers or two universal beings that had somehow become aware of each other, and for some reason or another they ended up fighting because only one can occupy the space that they were in, apparently. So in their struggle, the characters from Marvel also fought against the characters from Marvel fought against the characters from DC. So it was like a gladiatorial setup in the first two issues. So we get the matchups are Superman versus Hulk, which I guess that was fair at the time. We have Batman
Hmm.
versus Captain America, which is the most they call this the most equally pitted heroes, in my opinion. We have some more wonky ones like Storm versus Wonder Woman. I didn't understand that. Spider-Man versus Superboy. Lobo versus Wolverine. Namor versus Aquaman. Flash versus Quicksilver. Captain Marvel versus Thor. That's Shazam versus Thor, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And so yeah, the two universes fought against each other, and as of and issue three, something happens that I'll discuss after we get Alex's thoughts on this book so far.
I've never had a chance to read it when this came out,
Hmm.
and I've only read this recently when we were talking about the characters.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, um, it's a big showdown between two universes, and aside from it being so very 90s,
Yeah.
how they presented the book was in fact, uh, it looks like both of the companies or the persons involved in this project were having fun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it wasn't the events that we have these days where it has that very serious tone and they kind of force it to happen because they want the heroes to fight each other. In this event, it was like, hey, let's just have these guys fight off and let's see how it goes and let's have fun. So um, even though it's a very ridiculous concept, it's also a very fun book
Hmm.
because you get to see these heroes fighting, and it's not they're not showing it off. It's not being pretentious, so it might be over the top at some points, but they're doing that and they are being honest that this is gonna be a fun book and it's gonna be crazy and you're gonna see things that you're not um, used to seeing in other books, but they're not taking it very seriously. And there's also this portion where you vote via ballots.
That's right. The
Yeah.
winners of the individual fights were voted upon.
So
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, by
yeah,
fans.
that's how they did it back then
The
before the
popular
internet.
vote.
So you have you have to. I think they did it also with Robin,
With what's his name? Jason
um,
Todd.
Jason Todd.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the 80s.
Hmm.
But anyway, it is ridiculous. It's very 90s.
Hmm.
The art style is it might not suit the current audience, this generation's audience, but it's still very impressive from an artist's point of view
Hmm.
if you can come up with this kind of detailed art, and if you do this in this current environment it might not be um, feasible for a monthly book.
Now, with you, you were like, I
Yeah.
said, like, hey, Lex, check out DC versus Marvel. I know you've never read it. And then you were like,
Hmm.
you're kind of cold on it because you didn't really care. But when I said Claudio Castellini, you were like, oh, I want to check it out.
Oh yeah, yeah,
What did you think of his stuff?
yeah. I've seen some of his work even after this book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is still a bit on one of his earlier stuff, if I'm not mistaken, but it's still very 90s. It's very 90s, but the draftsmanship is still impressive.
Yeah.
I think this quality of work, if translated into the current generation, might not be on schedule. I'm not sure if this was released um, on schedule during that time,
I don't remember either.
but yeah, but still, this kind of work is it's very impressive
Mm-hmm.
for me. Yeah, but still very 90s. Very 90s
uh,
with the hatching, with the um, anatomy, everything.
for our maybe not so informed listeners, so you mind telling us what that means? Like, what does very 90s mean to you?
It means over exaggerated anatomy,
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, over exaggerated anatomy. The hatchings, it has a lot of vertical line hatchings. Um, what else?
The
Over the top
costumes. The
poses.
costumes
The
too.
costumes are either shiny and very expressive. Lots of armor, unnecessary armor, and
Shoulder
Colors are
pads.
always really bright.
shoulder pads, thigh pads, lots of pads. Even Iron Man has pads. It's weird.
Leather
And
jackets.
leather jackets. What do you
Pouches.
call
A
this?
lot of
Face.
Pouches.
pouches.
Yeah.
Thor has a very weird costume because he has this it's not a face mask. It's just like um I don't know, something you put on your face,
Yeah, that's called a
but you can
mask.
see he's still it doesn't cover his face, just his forehead and cheeks.
Wait, wait,
So
Mm-hmm.
wait,
Mm-hmm.
wait. This is it
yeah,
like the same thing that Lady Thor is wearing now? Something like that.
no man,
No,
Like the
not a
whole.
helmet.
it's nah,
It's not a
it's not a
helmet.
helmet.
Ah,
It's like it's like a faceplate, but you can see his eyes and nose. So it just covers his forehead and
Mm-hmm.
cheeks.
okay, okay.
That's
I
it.
remember.
His
I remember.
forehead and cheek, just one cheek.
It's
Cheeks,
kind.
just one
It's
cheek.
kind of like what Gambit wears.
Yes, exactly like that.
Yes, but thicker.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Each, what do you
So
remember about this?
I remember it specifically for certain battles. I
Mm-hmm.
love the fact that Spider-Man beat Superboy because he was such a shit. Um,
That's kind of bullshit though,
uh,
but go on.
nah, I think at the time, I think this is also experience, So I totally
Mm-hmm.
bought, this one. Um, the Superman fight versus the Hulk, I totally bought that too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Silver Surfer versus Green Lantern, I thought that was fair.
Of course.
There
It's
was
a power
yeah,
cosmic.
that had happened.
And it was fucking
Silver.
Kyle Rayner.
It was Kyle Rayner. If it was what do you call this? Hal, I don't know, maybe different.
Mm-hmm.
Sheer force of will. Thor. Who did Thor go up against? Wonder Woman. Right? No, no, no. Wonder
No.
Woman and and
no, no,
and,
no,
and
no.
Captain
Storm.
Marvel.
No,
Shazam.
Shazam and Thor won.
Thor won, correct. Because
Uh,
Thor is actually a god and Captain Marvel is just a little boy with a god's
Little
power.
boy. Yeah,
Little
Thor's a bully.
boy.
I don't.
Also,
The,
go on,
the
go
two
on.
most memorable, but the two most memorable ones were Aquaman and Namor because I
Really?
think, yeah, because Aquaman just used the whale to smack Namor.
Yeah, yeah.
That was
Bitch
that was
lesson.
funny. I thought that was funny, but looking back, I don't think that's possible. Namor's too strong,
See, but
right?
that's where we get into weird territory because like there's no doubt about the bigger fights. Like we know, of course, Superman will win against the Hulk, but with the
The
lower
smaller
tier
ones,
heroes, it
there were
becomes
some, there were
gray.
some, but it was memorable because of that. Like
Uh-huh.
Aquaman bitch slapped, what do you call his Namor with a whale.
Yeah.
They use it land on him. And Batman and Captain America.
Yeah,
Because I was like, holy shit, this ended in a draw.
yeah, it did.
I was like, what the hell?
They're friends.
Sort
It was
of.
like they both respected each other. I think
Mhm.
that was what was going on there. And they knew that, it's like just skill level wise, they were both at that really high level and they both recognized it. And that's why it took forever until it's like, fuck it. They both threw
And
shit at each other.
they were also the only humans who were fighting. Everybody else
Yep.
was either meta-human or mutant or alien or a god or whatever. Just some context for the listeners who had never heard of DC versus Marvel. Just how different the comics, what do you call it? The comics climate was back then. These days the Iron Man, the Avengers are so prominent, but back in 1996, on the cover we have one Avenger, just Cap, just Captain America. No sign of Iron Man. Oh, I'm sorry, Thor is here, I guess, but no sign of Iron Man whatsoever. And Wolverine is front and center of the first issue, of course.
Oh, yeah. Wolverine and Lobo.
Yeah, Wolverine and Lobo.
That was a
Lobo.
good one.
And we have three X-Men on the cover. Fucking Jubilee is on the cover of the
Yeah, wait,
first
who did she
issue.
go up
Hey,
against?
she was very big in the 90s.
I
Who did
guess.
she go up against?
Tim
She
Drake.
lost, right?
Robin, Tim Drake, and
Yeah,
they
she
kissed.
lost.
That was weird.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Hmm.
Okay.
Quicksilver was on the cover.
Does that go to show how
SSE.
horny Dick Grayson is?
How horny.
Oh, Tim Drake? Or was this Tim Drake?
Tim Drake.
Tim Tim
Yeah, yeah,
Drake.
correct.
Tim Drake. Yeah, but all Robins are.
That's true. That's true.
Especially Dick, man. I mean, just perfectly named right there.
Hmm. Now, I didn't want to spoil the third issue, but what happens is that I think the losses and the wins are even on either side. Like, obviously, Superman beat Hulk. Uh, Batman and Cap had a draw. Uh, what I'm trying to say is there's basically even wins. Wolverine beat Lobo, which I thought was bullshit because Lobo can go toe to toe with Superman. But anyway, the two brothers, Marvel and DC, the Celestials, decided that they were gonna take matters into their own hands, and instead of destroying each other, they would combine. Uh, they would combine into one singular entity, and
Yeah.
between the third and fourth issue, we ended up with the Amalgam universe.
Yep.
Right.
Now, if you guys had never heard of this, Amalgam Universe is basically a comics universe in which DC characters were combined with Marvel characters. And
This is where the fun begins.
for a couple of months, I believe they actually halted publication on some of their books, or most of their books, in favor of these amalgamated characters. Like, instead of Batman and Wolverine, which is weird because they didn't fight, but instead of Batman and Wolverine, we got Dark Claw, which is a
Yep.
vigilante character, a caped vigilante character with claws, and yeah, that's a thing. Instead of Superman and Captain America, we got Super Soldier, which is probably my favorite out of all the designs. Do you guys remember the others that came out during
Was,
this?
was there a Spider Boy?
Spider Boy, correct? Let me.
He used like guns, like to shoot webs.
Not yeah, it was a web gun specifically. And Spider Boy actually held a special place in my heart because that was drawn by Mike Wieringo, if you guys recall. Only one issue, of
Wasn't
course.
the who wielded Thor's hammer? Was it Storm or was it?
I believe it was.
I know Wonder Woman did, but she wasn't. But
No,
that wasn't like an amalgam character. She just ended up wielding his hammer and
yeah,
she
that was
turned
during the
into
fight.
this. Yep.
We get Thor combines with Orion
Huh.
in a book called Thorion. Which
What?
yeah, Thorion, which I didn't.
Ryan of the new
Maybe
Asgard.
it's Thorion.
Gods, yeah.
Asgard.
The Asgods. Wait.
It was an
No,
interesting
really?
time. Yeah, so I'm gonna name off some of the, well, all of the books here just to see what catches your fancy if you want to look these up somehow or find them in a bargain bin. There was, keep in mind, these are only one shots, only first issues. There was Amazon, which was Wonder Woman
So,
combined
Wonder Woman.
with Storm.
Ah.
Assassins.
Did she turn out to be black?
Yeah, she was black.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
I think that was John Byrne actually. Assassins, which was Elektra combined with Daredevil and
Ooh.
Catwoman combined with Deadshot, I think.
Huh.
It can't be Catwoman and Deadshot because they're,
There's both DC.
yeah, but that combination in some iteration or another.
or dead bullseye, maybe.
Yeah, maybe one of those things. I didn't like that because I'm not a Scott McDaniel fan, but whatever. We got Doctor Strange Fate with art by Kevin
Yeah.
Nowlan.
Yeah, I remember
Who
that.
turns out to be Professor X.
Oh, wow.
That's
Like,
so weird.
wow. So that's three. That's three characters.
Yeah. Did you read
Yeah.
that, Lex?
Holy cow. That
I
must have
scanned
been
through it, and then when
weird.
he took off his helmet, whoa, it's Professor X.
It's like they just use the name of Doctor Strange and Doctor Fate. It's like neither of them there. It's
Yeah.
just Doctor. It's Professor X. What the fuck?
There's JLX, which was Justice League combined with the X-Men. You got John Jones in the Professor X role. Bunch of New Mutants in Justice League International combinations. There were two Dark Claw books. There was Dark Claw and Legends of Dark Claw because it was so popular, I
Oh.
guess. And Legends of Dark Claw was in the animated style, which I liked more than the main book. Uh,
Like you mean like Batman animated adventures like that?
yeah, Bruce Timm style. Yeah.
Yeah,
Legends of the Dark Claw.
nice.
Or
So bad.
or maybe it was Dark Claw Adventures, one of those things. And as mentioned, there's Super Soldier, and then there's Bruce Wayne, Agent of Shield, who is
Huh?
not Dark Claw.
Okay.
He's a completely different character, which is interesting. Bullets and Bracelets. I didn't read this. I forget what that was. Uh, Magneto and the Magnetic Men, which is a play on the Metal Men.
Okay.
Speed Demon, which is a
Okay.
combination of Flash and Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Interesting, interesting combination. Uh, Spider Boy, X Patrol, which I didn't
Oh,
read.
I didn't know that there were more books.
It was
I
released
thought I
into
just thought there
two
were like
waves.
a few books, but no, it's like I didn't know there were so many.
Yeah, man.
In X Patrol, Shatter Stars combined with uh, what's her
Starfire.
name? Starfire.
Shatter Starfire.
Oh, okay.
That's his full name, Shatter Starfire. And I'm only halfway through the list, guys. There was Bat Thing,
What?
which there's Bat Thing, which I guess is Man Bat mixed with Man Thing, I think.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh.
Alex will like this. Generation Hex.
What? So this is Jonah Hex.
Uh-huh. And Generation X. There's JLX Unleashed. I didn't read that. And my favorite, Alex will know this is my favorite, Lobo the Duck.
What? No.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, it's
So
pretty
is he
great.
tiny?
Yeah,
Is he tiny or is he a big duck?
he's an asshole tiny duck with a big gun.
With the chains?
Mm-hmm. And
I have
there's
to read that.
Challengers of the Fantastic, which is a combination of Fantastic Four and Challengers of the Unknown.
Yeah.
Uh, Iron Lantern.
Finally, something Iron Man came out.
Yeah. More Spider Boy, more Magnetic Men, and finally Thorion of the new Asgard.
Asgards.
Yeah.
The Asgard. Is that how it's ASG?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
straight
she-
one word?
Yeah.
What the hell?
I'm not sure how I feel about
What?
that.
So after like Loboduck, whatever you call them,
Lubuduk.
Loboduck. Oh, what else was good?
Well, don't get me wrong. Lobo Duck wasn't good. It's
Oh,
just
yeah,
my
but
favorite.
it's just your favorite when you
Yeah.
all this. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say Doctor Strange Fate was good. JLX was good. Spider Boy was good. Both Spider Boys, Spider Boy and Spider Boy team up were both good because one was Ringo, one was Ladron. Ladron.
What the hell is the Superboy team up? Who did he team up with?
I don't remember,
himself.
but yeah, but it exists. Uh,
He himself with his right hand.
Ew. But yeah, that's it. And by the fourth issue of DC vs. Marvel, they split back up, and the brothers decide to respect each other. Aww.
Uh,
Yeah.
what's his name? The hero?
Access.
Axis.
What's your name? Modem. Router.
What? Who's Axis?
Yeah. There was a guy who could who's like a gateway between the two universes. But I bring this up because it's interesting because you would not see a crossover like this today. Like
That's
the
Nah,
rivalry
everything's-
is so I don't know if it's so heated up, but like it's like there's no contest anymore maybe or maybe in their minds
Yeah.
there's no contest anymore.
No, the contest is internal. That most of them are just competing against their own books. Like who can get the most sales and get to keep their books.
Who can
Unlike,
relaunch the quickest?
yeah, who can die and then reborn and then die again. It's a minor book.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Hulk.
But
Holy
yeah,
shit, what?
now we can have like Marvel is doing stuff with IDW, DC is also doing stuff with yeah, with also with IDW. It's like they would rather cross over with other publishers than with each other. You know, like there's that Green Lantern Star Trek book.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and then a couple of years ago there was the Avengers Transformers book, and then every
Yep.
now we even got a Red Sonja teaming up with Spider-Man book a few years ago. So
That was I read that. That was hilarious. That was hilarious.
That was weird. Spider.
I'm just saying I miss when DC and Marvel the rivalry was more friendly than it is today, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see this again, but I don't know.
Licensing issues.
Yeah, it's crazy when it's more likely that you're gonna see a Marvel Star Wars crossover than a Marvel DC crossover. You know?
It's so yeah. It's so serious now because comics don't make as much money as they used to. I think this was a era of excess, and it's like they could do whatever they wanted.
True.
People were really into comics.
And 1996, this was
Uh,
the height of the 90s
is.
boom.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah.
This is, it's like they were selling like a couple million issues of X-Men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Per issue. That was insane.
And
It's
that's
like
why you
these
have
guys were raking
Wolverine
it
front and
in.
center.
These guys were raking it in. And how much was an issue back then? Like one something? $2?
To my
150?
recollection, it was about no, not even like less than 100 per issue. Like I would buy Andy Kubert X-Men for like 75 pesos at Comic Quest.
No, I know. So I mean, like in dollars. So that's what, like $1.50.
Yeah, something like that.
$1.25, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then imagine 2 million people, 2 million issues.
Uh-huh.
So that's almost $3 million that they'd make.
Pretty cray.
Factor in inflation.
there
Holy
you go.
shit, dude!
Mm-hmm.
They were really making quite a bit of dough.
Can you imagine how much the original art from this, if it's still with the creator today, how much it would be worth? You think it'd be worth a lot? Actually, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Because we have montages
Should
here.
ask Butch.
Yeah, because he's the OA guy. He's the overacting guy.
Yeah.
There are montages here. Like we have Claudio Castellini pages where Captain Marvel is fighting against Venom and stuff like that, and Thanos versus Darkseid. Those are not the run of the mill pages. But yeah, DC versus Marvel. I think that's all we will need to say about that. I miss events like this, and it was good fun. For you listeners who have not checked this out or have ever heard of this, look it up. You won't regret it. As teased in the beginning of the show, the three of us read a book that we really loved. Butch brought up the fact that Marvel doesn't really have a lot of evergreen titles, and by that we mean series or mini-series that are not really tied into continuity, and they happen in their own time capsule, so to speak. An example of that is Watchmen. You can read Watchmen anytime. It has nothing to do with the current continuity. Dark Knight Returns, you can read anytime. I can name a few others, but then I'd just be reiterating the point. The point is, Marvel doesn't have a lot of these evergreen titles, but I think this one is. I'm talking about Vision. It's written by Tom King, with art by Gabriel Hernandez Walta, who I have never heard of.
What? No? Really?
Yeah, sorry. Colors by Jordi Belair, who is coloring everything. Covers by Mike Del Mundo. And variant covers by people like some low-level guys like Ryan Sook and Marcos Martin. But yeah, Vision was 12 issues. EJ, you're the most recent one to have finished it. What do you think, man?
I was quite surprised, frankly. I had low expectations. I mean, people were saying it was good, but the quality of Marvel books lately has not impressed. In general, okay, there are a few issues that I really enjoyed, like Doctor Strange and Champions, and now you're gonna tell me it's a Vision book, who is not one of my favorite characters, so I don't know what to expect from a book like this. And it starts off with a little humor in the first issue, and I found myself cracking up a little bit. But then it starts to get a little sad. Then it gets a little dark. Then it gets darker and darker and darker. It gets really, really messed up. And the thought that comes into my mind is like, holy shit, this is like American Beauty. This is like, regular shit happening in the suburbs, but underneath it all is like not just skeletons in the closet, man. This is like if the ghost in the machine was I don't know, looked like a zombie already. This is the hopes and dreams of Vision wanting his own family, and everything just comes crashing down around him. It's like if this was the worst possible scenario you could think of, that's exactly what happened to him. It's like they went out to make this really emotional tragedy, and it's one of the most powerful things I've read from Marvel in recent years. It's like, oh, you can do this. You can do books like this naman pala eh. It's like,
Oh, ngay.
diba? So why don't you guys do books like this more?
Yeah.
Why and at the same time, it doesn't have to be with your regular characters. You can come up, I have been saying for years, go the Runaways route. Create new characters. Introduce them into this. You don't have to keep recycling the old characters. I know you have a lot of characters, but not all of them have to be used over and over. It doesn't work. They can be a supporting character in some other book. Create new characters. But in this case, use a character that has been a supporting one for a while and create a really powerful story. I mean, they use guys like Victor Mancha, who is who? I mean, sure, he was in Runaways, but he was nothing for the longest time.
Yeah.
And they put him in this book, and it's one of the most powerful moments. He contributes to one of the most powerful moments.
To interrupt you each, sorry, I just want to set it up for a little bit. Just to make it clear, this is about the Vision from the Avengers starting his own family, basically. I don't think it's explained how they're made, but I guess that's hinted at over the course of the series, how they're created in the first place. And Vision himself has always had the struggle of becoming human because he's an android. He can only simulate humanity. So the book,
and you don't want to spoil exactly how he came up with how he created his family, because as you read, it's like there's a lot of pleasure also in seeing and realizing how things happened.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of clues, there are a lot of Easter eggs, there's a lot of foreshadowing. It's mind-blowing when everything suddenly comes together. It's so tightly written. It's brilliant.
Because Vision's quest is always about becoming more human. This is a book about the exploration of your humanity through your family, I guess, through the construction of your family, of how your loved ones inform who you are as a person or as a human. And it's very fascinating because it's not like they're a huge family. There's like 4 of them. It's a literally a nuclear family, and the trials that they go through over the course of these 12 issues really, like, I feel like I'm in love with these characters. Like, uh, granted, we haven't spent a lot of time with all of them, or may not anymore. Spoiler, but I feel like I know these characters really well now. Lex, how did you feel about this?
Um, the book is actually um, EJ mentioned just almost everything I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
But it was it was interesting how they were able to use Vision and his family as a container for your the formula of a tragic family drama, and they used it in a Marvel book because most of the time you'd see stories like this on TV shows because it translates that well as a TV show or maybe a novel. It's just surprising that they were able to execute such a story, and they used Vision, and the story focuses more on human relations. And at the start of this limited series, um, I wasn't expecting that they would delve that deep into humanity and human interaction, human relationships using androids.
Yeah,
And it was, um, let's say, I forgot that word.
analogy.
Anyway, not analogy. Um, I was underestimating.
Mm.
I was underestimating the story because they were using androids as the characters, but it turns out it was the best way to portray um, how you, the, how broken the family is because you have the typical um, husband who wants to make his family work. You have your two children, the innocent child and the one who is um, teenager who's learning her emotions, and you have the loving mother who turns out have some kind of mental illness. But in this case, they're all androids, and the story seems the story or they were able to use that uh, human, very human elements into these androids and portray a very s- downward spiral story. But in the end, it's a close loop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very well written. I really like Tom Tom King's work here.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you guys will agree with me, but as I was reading this, I literally said out loud, "Holy shit! This feels like a Doctor Manhattan comic."
I
You
think
know?
my eyes were like wide open for a lot of it. I'm just like, hands in my mouth and just like staring at the book, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, you're stunned, and you like, dude, this overtook. I was just gonna go about this a little bit of a time, and I thought I was gonna just, write about, talk about it a little bit, but
Yeah,
no, man, this thing demands that you finish it.
Yeah.
It's and like you said, you feel like this could have hit close to home, because it's about family and kids and everything, and it does.
Mm-hmm.
that's true. Yeah,
But in a different way, not that because I relate, because I don't.
You're an android.
Um, it's like I
synthesoid
feel
Yeah.
correction.
what I have in my family. That's what the Vision is striving so hard to get.
Yeah.
And he fails at that because he tries so hard to make this thing perfect that he fails to realize um the cracks in the container that he made. When you realize where his wife came from, you're already like, this is not going to end well.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is not, the first time you know where she came from. It's like there's a part where they're talking about the plant, and then she's looking sad. You remember that moment?
Yes. Oh no,
Yeah.
it wasn't the plant. It was the vase, the alien
Um,
vase.
no. It was the plant because it came from the plant was a gift.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, to
Um,
be fair, she looks at everything in a forlorn look,
yeah,
in a forlorn
but
way.
there was this particular moment where he said like as she was looking, blah blah blah. She suddenly, what do you call this? No one noticed, but she got quiet and looked a little sad, blah blah blah. Anyway, um, and he even everything's already falling apart, but then he still makes a dog, to try to, he's trying everything. And the analogy used in the story of the P and LP, if and P, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I'm getting this right. It's like they're trying to explain like how a computer solves a problem. It's either it has an algorithm that is pretty much a shortcut and it goes about it methodically, or it does what Vision is doing,
Tries
where
everything.
it's going to try every single permutation, until it finds that particular solution to the problem. And it could take billions of computers, billions of years to figure something out using a process like that. But that's how Vision is going about it, because he has no clue how to do this. He has theories. He imagines, that this is something that uh, he wants, that he can get. But even all the way in the end, he hasn't learned anything.
Yeah, he might not have a
It's like
clue. He doesn't have a clue, but
Yeah,
you know what
that
he's got?
he
He's
doesn't.
got time. He's got a lot of time.
He's got.
But what's his name? But it's what's sad is that the daughter seemed to have figured it out.
You think so?
Yeah, I feel like the daughter got it together more than him. It's like it's
You
okay.
should
I'm
read the
not
new Challengers series.
champions.
Issue.
Champions.
Champions. Sorry.
Okay, why is does some stuff happen there?
Yeah, it kind of explains. Viv kind of explains what happened to her family and why she's acting that way now.
Oh man, I
Interesting.
gotta read that. Yeah, I gotta read that.
Hey
Okay.
guys, so
It's just a panel.
what did you guys think of the art, Walta's art in this?
It
Hey,
remind
I like
as a yeah. I know you said you like it, but John, didn't you say you don't like John Romita?
No, John Romita's what do you call this? Aesthetics or the cosmetics of his
Yeah.
style on the surface I don't really like. It's his storytelling I like.
Okay.
Much in that same vein, I like this, but not necessarily the cosmetics of the style. Like he's got really solid storytelling. He doesn't use weird shortcuts just to hint at what's
Yeah.
going on in the panel. In many ways, he's like Gabriel Rodriguez in Lock and Key, because he will tell you what's happening in the page in the clearest possible way, but it always feels like it's a shot that could have been taken with a regular camera. You know what I mean? No crazy angles or anything, and
Yeah.
it just adds to the believability of the scene. And like I said when I was describing this book to you, it feels very subdued, which I feel like adds to the strength of the book overall.
Yep. But that's all I can say. I mean, my eye is not very trained, and I've read a lot of comics, but it's not from an artist perspective. But it does remind me of Romita's art, and the combination of this art style with the colors. Um, it leads to a very suburgatory kind of look. It's a hunting village family tale,
True.
and the art style lends a lot of credibility to the whole story, so everything comes together. It's like it's the perfect storm, you know, and it really hits you hard. This is
You said you
there are
were in shock
so
after you read this.
dude, I was so in shock. It is almost trauma. You read something that you do not expect, and you come out of it, and you're staring into space, and you're like, what was that?
Right?
There are so many moments in this book. There are so many moments that you're left going one issue after another. You're like, what the fuck? What is this? What was that? Holy crap! Did that just happen? It keeps hitting you. It's insane. I mean, if if I started reading this last year, then this probably would have been the best book of 2016 for me.
Yeah, to that point, like I read this over the Christmas break, so this was after the year ender episode. I'm calling it now. This is probably gonna win an Eisner, I think, this year.
It's I read um a bunch more indies in the last year than I have in years past. And those books really surprised me. They were very fresh and everything. But it is another thing for a character that to totally blow you out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's like even more impressive. It's like this guy. You've read him in so many things, but then they deliver something so very like the character, but so very unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they didn't cheat. They didn't do anything different.
Yeah, no
I don't know.
retcons or anything.
I mean, they didn't change anything about the character. They used the truth of this character, and that's what they used to create something really unique.
Yeah. Now, before we wrap up discussion on the vision, Lex, some closing thoughts, because you're the one who was most familiar with this artist. How did you
Yeah.
feel about his work here?
I think nothing much changed because I've been exposed to his work when he started doing um, the foundation books.
Foundation books.
Yeah, yeah, the kids from Fantastic Four.
Oh, Future Foundation.
Yeah. So when he did those, it was my first exposure to his art, and
Hmm.
yeah, at that time, it's still as subdued as you described it. Nothing fancy, but the artwork and the details are very spot on. So that's what attracted me to his art. So when he did this, I was expecting that the story will be the main driver of the book, and his art was a very good um, accompaniment to the story, and it did deliver because there were some panels which are very powerfully executed um, alongside with his art. So it might not be as attractive as compared to the other artists out there, and a lot of people might not like it. But if you're in it for the story, then the art is a very good compliment.
Cool. Now, my closing thoughts
Yep.
on Vision will be facts about Tom King. I just want to let you guys know that before he became a comic writer, he worked for the CIA, guys.
Yep, I read that.
Yeah, yeah. So when he writes Sheriff of Babylon or anything spy related, he's writing from a place of experience. And one more fact about Tom King: before Vision wrapped up, DC snatched him up and made him exclusive. So he won't be doing any Marvel characters in the near future. But currently he's writing Batman, which I hear is getting pretty good. I haven't read it yet, but it's interesting. I'll be checking that out. All right, so that's a wrap for our comics talk for this episode. We're going to move on to our panel discussion for this week, unless you guys have other books to talk about.
No, I'm good.
Cool. To wrap up the show, I want to ask you guys one question to kick off the year.
Wow.
Huh.
Sure.
If you could be best friends with any comic book character, Who would you pick, guys? Pick
Ah.
any character from any universe, Amalgam, to be your best friend in real life. Who would it be?
You know, I'm a big fan of Peter Parker, but he would not be my best friend because
Right now?
that dude's a flake.
Wait.
No, right now, and of all time, dude, one of the biggest flakes ever.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
that's true, yeah.
It's like you can't be
Like,
best
if
friends
you-
with that
if you-
unless
I'm saying, if
Yeah,
you
even-
schedule a podcast with Peter Parker, he's not gonna show up that night.
Shut up, man.
Is he gonna be early in the office?
Yeah.
You can guilt trip me all you want, man. I'm not gonna feel
I
it.
didn't say any names. I'm just saying that if you schedule a
I'm not feel
stargazing
it.
date with Peter Parker, he's gonna show up. He's gonna gaze at those stars with you in the web hammock. But go on, Ej. Who's your best friend?
Who would be my best friend?
Yeah.
Shit, guys. I don't have this figured out.
I'll give you time to
There's
think.
a lot
Lex,
of there.
It's easy.
don't say Hellboy.
Okay. It used to be easy.
Really, guys?
Yeah, dude. It's like all of these. Look, it's hard because all of these characters are pretty messed up. You
I'll go
know.
with Iron Man.
Okay.
It's
That
like
was one of my
yeah,
choices.
he had a
Why?
best friend that was what do you call? Yeah, I guess that's not so bad.
Why, Lex?
Because he has unlimited savings account.
Oh, wow. Some friend you are. Fucking
And
moocher
he'll
over
give me
here.
an armor.
Alright, roadie.
I think I'm gonna die.
I'll be his roadie.
Uh-huh.
I
Alex,
might die if I had
roadie,
a super,
Cipri-
if I had a best. These guys were my best friends, man.
Alex Cipri
Gonna
roadie.
use your gym.
But really,
for
that's it?
free.
You'd want to be friends
That-
with Iron Man because he's got a lot of armor?
And
Definitely,
he has a lot of
definitely
booze.
would not be Bruce Banner. That's for sure.
That's your choice, Ej?
No, I said it's definitely not gonna be.
Okay, who is it?
Yeah, there are a lot of dudes that are obviously not, not Bruce Wayne.
Or
Oh
you
yeah,
can
okay,
ask-
sorry, no, I know, it's Dick Grayson.
Oh, interesting. Why?
Like I said, dude, that dude has a lot of tail. I just think that guy, when he's in his downtime, he seems to be like a fun guy to be with. Very light, very seems like someone you could have a good conversation with.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that'll have your back, and I don't know, I think he's a cool guy. Yeah, I think
Got your back.
I think Dick Grayson would be, what do you call this? I'd like him to be my best friend.
Nice wingman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I would say Johnny Storm because
Oh, nice.
Yeah, why?
he's always hang out in cool buildings and stuff, and he's always hang out with models, and he's got a hot sister.
Okay.
It's a good thing you don't draw on paper anymore because it'd burn everything.
Exactly. Or barring Johnny Storm, Mystique would be my best
Wow.
friend.
Best friend, or
Friends with benefits? I don't know.
God.
Who would be your comic book best friend, guys? Let us know in the comments below or in the Facebook thread. Let us know anything whatsoever and ask us questions for next episode. That'll be a wrap on this first episode of the year. Thank you, EJ and Alex, for joining me
Yeah.
this evening.
Yeah.
Read The Vision, guys, or read DC vs. Marvel. Either of those books is excellent. We will catch you again next week for another fun-filled Do the Hustle episode of Tres Comiceros. What 70s song from EJ's era will we play next week? Find out at the same bat time, same bat channel. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Nice.
Mm.